Constipated weather patterns give Buffalo, New York 3 days of quiet weather. Mayhem in other parts of the country. Now on Weather Buff. Before I start, please subscribe to the channel as you do not want to miss my snow forecast video for the Buffalo Bills Miami Dolphins football game on Saturday, December 17th, 2022 at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Spoiler alert, there remains the potential for significant lake effect snow this weekend. There is still considerable uncertainty this far out in time in the exact placement of the lake effect bands and amounts. But it is possible there will be periods of heavy snow across the Niagara frontier, including the Buffalo metro area and Highmark Stadium. This channel, being based in Buffalo, New York, well, there's two things we wish for here. The first one is snow on Christmas Day. The second, lake effect snow anytime the Miami Dolphins come to Orchard Park, New York. Fun weather fact, Miami is 0 wins and 7 losses in its last 7 games where the kickoff temperature was below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, let's get to why the weather is constipated. Well, with Buffalo, New York going to have 3 consecutive days without measurable precipitation and any noticeable wind, that's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, December 12th, 13th, and 14th, 2022, when climatologically we should have measurable precipitation on 70% of the days this time of year. So statistically, this is once in a 37-year occurrence. Other parts of the country are in weather mayhem. The culprit is what in the weather world we call an omega block, because the wind flow looks like the Greek letter omega, the last and 24th letter of the Greek alphabet. Can you pick out the omega block from this picture? I've drawn the omega block with the low pressures. The low pressures circulate counterclockwise. So there's an L here. There's an L here for low pressure. We're sandwiched in between the 2 low pressures, and it looks like the letter omega when you draw it. Now, the weather that is usually uneventful for people and throughout the entire country is where you have an east to west type of flow of air like we have down here in the Florida, Texas, South Texas, Mexico area. So that's uneventful weather. Where you have this blocking system is where the weather gets interesting. So let's explain this. You have weather from the airflow here coming from the high Arctic of Canada. Okay, it's coming further up like this from Alaska into the high Arctic to Canada, and then flowing right down into the Colorado, New Mexico, Texas area. And what's happening is that it's pulling this cold air down, and it's also pulling Gulf air up. So where this cold air coming down here is going to meet the Gulf air coming up, like this eventually, you're going to have, in this area, you're going to have tornadoes, which we're going to have tornadoes for especially Louisiana here and parts of Arkansas. Tornado outbreak tonight. Also in this area, you're going to have the Appalachian area of the Carolinas, Mississippi, Alabama. You're going to have flooding. I'll put an F there for flooding. They're going to have copious amounts of rain. And then on the backside here, when this moves over, we're going to have blizzard warnings here in the very cold blizzard warnings in South Dakota, North Dakota. Put a B for blizzard, okay? South Dakota, North Dakota, parts of Minnesota. We're going to have snow up here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and Minnesota. They're going to have major snow. Blizzard conditions, like I said, 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. So this whole Omega block is causing all this trouble. Now, as this moves toward the east, it's a block because it moves very slowly. It's going to slowly move east. And when it does, Western New York is eventually going to get into this cold. This cold's going to kind of ooze in. It's going to be a cold and snowier pattern. So now that you know that the blocking system causes weather constipation, let's go through, using pivotal weather, the National Weather Service current hazards, and we'll go from the western part of the country to the eastern part. Well, this cold air on the backside of this low pressure system is spilling into the purple areas. Here are freeze warnings. Southern Arizona, the growing areas of California, and a little bit of Oregon, central part, north central part of the country. Purple areas are winter weather advisories. Idaho, northern Idaho, western Montana, eastern Montana, getting into Utah and northern Colorado. There's some in northwest Kansas, central Nebraska, into eastern part of South Dakota, and also northern Minnesota and central Minnesota and western Wisconsin. The pink areas are winter storm warnings, and those are for eastern Montana, all of North Dakota, a lot of Minnesota, the northern 2/3, the central and eastern part of South Dakota, and of central Wyoming. The reds are blizzard warnings, and those are stretching from eastern Colorado through western Nebraska into western South Dakota. And also there's some around Duluth and Lake Superior. When you get further to the south side of the storm, you're getting the tan colors, which are high winds, and that's going to be in the eastern part of New Mexico, western Texas. Then we also have high winds stretching through central Kansas and southern Minnesota and into most of Iowa. Then as we go on the south side of the storm, the yellows in our tornado watches, and those are in central and northern Louisiana into southern Arkansas. And we have these, I guess, kind of orangey color. That's a severe thunderstorm warning in southern Arkansas and also in eastern Texas. And these red areas are tornado warnings, and that's eastern Texas stretching through northwest Louisiana. Now, further to the east, right now we have the green, dark green are flood watches, where the light green are flood warnings, and those are in southern Louisiana, stretching through Mississippi and Alabama, parts of northwestern Georgia. I expect this to go as well into the Carolinas. They've already put up a wind advisory along the border of North Carolina and, of course, in Maine. And then finally, toward western New York, we have just to the east of us along the spine of the Appalachians, this is a winter storm. We have a winter storm problem from stretching along the Appalachians from New York through Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, into the western part of Virginia, where they have a winter storm watch. So those are the keys in case you want to see them, but that's what it is. And it's all caused by this omega block. Remember when I showed you this map? Well, this air that's being pulled in constantly from the north is going to eventually, as this works its way east, going to cool down the entire country. We're going to see probably some of the coldest temperatures before Christmas we've seen here in a very long time for the entire country. Here they are, the national 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This goes from next Monday, the 19th, to Friday, the 23rd of December, 2022. The blue is below normal. The darker the blue, the worse it is below normal. And the purple color is well below normal. And looking at the chart, we're going to put this up. Here's the chart below normal. This area is going to be crazy cold. This is where it's all spilling. But notice it's the entire country from California to a little part of northern Maine is normal. And of course, southern Florida is above, a little bit above normal, but everything else is below normal. That's the next 6 to 10 day outlook. Let's look at the next 8 to 14 days in temperature. And California is warming up above normal, but everybody else well below normal, including Western New York. And you don't see this very often, the entire country being so cold. So that's what this omega block is going to do. It's like this low pressure system is moving so slow, it's like leaving a refrigerator door open. All the air is going to drain out of Canada and right onto the entire United States of America. Now, for Buffalo, New York, as this system I mentioned above slowly moves east, we're going to get into the nasty weather as well. After 3 days in December without precipitation or wind, well, it's time to pay the piper. We're going to have mixed precipitation depending where you are in Western New York, with rain, snow, and sleet, and freezing rain on Thursday. My best thinking is rain along the lake shore. As you get into Buffalo and the northern elevations, we're going to have some freezing rain with minor accumulations in the morning. It's going to go on to all rain as we move through the late morning and into the afternoon. Areas that are going to be in the southern tier are going to stay probably with freezing rain, where you could get significant, maybe a couple tenths of an inch accumulation. That's going to cause travel problems, maybe take down some weak tree branches. And then we're going to have rain on Thursday night. It's going to continue and into the morning on Friday. It's slowly going to cool down on Friday. This cold air is going to start to ooze in. I think by Friday afternoon, we're going to get a change over to all snow everywhere as the cold air oozes in, and it gets cold enough for lake effect snow to begin Friday night and continue for the entire weekend. So I'm Jack Knack, the weather medic, the doctor of weather, once again reminding you to subscribe to the channel so you will be notified when I post the Buffalo Bills Miami Dolphins lake effect forecast for Saturday's football game. If you would like to support the channel on Patreon, like Dr. Charlie Bowman and Pat Burke, that would also be appreciated, as your investment helps pay for commercial licenses to weather subscriptions that make the channel possible. Thank you so much for watching. Good day, everyone.
Weather